I love this conversation, Brad. I think it's just in, it's interesting to me because I did a bunch of work probably 15 years ago in middleware. And middleware was, and it sort of has ended up, I think, being a little bit overlooked. But what I love about what you're saying, like there are a lot of companies now that have this problem that they've made big sort of data lake, data cloud investments, and then they turn into data swamps. And I think what I'm hearing is you've sort of leapfrogged that a bit by really being tight on the standards up front so that you don't end up with, oh, I've got all these terabytes of data, but there's really I don't know if it's any good or not, or there's no way to access it because you've gated it a little bit. And to your point, that doesn't mean that it's this big, sort of monolithic waterfall thing that can still be worked in an agile way to deliver value over time. So now I think I really appreciated how deep we went into this today. Maybe in closing, if I can put you on the spot and say okay, so all of this, and it's amazing. And I think very inspirational in terms of what you've been able to build and, your CIO, any, key predictions for sort of a 3 to 5 year horizon as it relates to, either the insurance industry, technology, anything else?
Yeah, if I were going to talk about something that I think would be some game changer influences on the way that we work with data, there's a few things I'd call out. Regulation. I mean, I don't want to be the boring guy that brings up regulation having a pervasive impact, but we're seeing an ever-growing and changing landscape of the type of requirements that we need around data privacy and security. Yeah. And that can impact how we support our analyst partners, our data scientists. How do we create those data pipelines, and where do we need to move those workloads? I think like many companies, we have fantastic security and wonderful security models and all sorts of monitoring in place. But now there'll be a regulatory requirement that will continue to grow, that it's not just what do you have in place, but how well is that documented, and can you tell that story? I think that's going to have an impact on how we create solutions. I think that's going to have an impact on even how we staff teams and how we win on analytics in the future. I also think, I'm sorry, do you want to?
Just to interject on that, I think that I completely agree. I mean, that's emerging in importance. And, even I would guess you'd probably tell me that the adjudication is not always clear between the different requirements, like, state, federal jurisdiction. For international companies, the situation's even worse, right? Where you can have, regulatory bodies in different countries that will in some cases have contradictory or conflicting requirements. So there's definitely a big emerging area of attention.
And we always like to say in insurance, which I work in, and maybe bankers would say, you're talking a big game there, sir. But we like to say, it's more complicated in insurance and financial services because we're regulated at the state. But you also have, federal agencies that you have to comply with. And if you have international exposure, you'll have international agencies that you have to comply with. And so you have to be able to satisfy the requirements of I guess I'd say the lowest common denominator. Yep. What one state asks for, then you're going to have that type of onus on your team and your solutions to be able to do that work. So that's kind of maybe that's a little bit more of the boring side about the 3 to 5 years in the future. I think in the exciting side is that we're going to continue to see the powerful platforms find their ways into the hands of our analyst community. So this concept around democratization, of data, of analytics, of machine learning, of creating your own automations, I think that is going to continue to grow because the platforms are going to be powerful enough that your analyst or your frontline workers aren't limited to Excel on how they can answer questions. So I think there is, not too far from now, virtual agents that are writing right next to you, that can use, voice over text, or they're looking at what's on your screen, and then they are providing insights in real time or near real time. They're going ahead and kicking off processes, knowing that you have either a meeting you need to schedule, a follow-up, a form that needs filled out. They are going ahead and helping you do your work more consistently and efficiently. They're bringing analytics to you to help you make that judgment call, to help make that decision. So I think there'll be this augmented virtual assistant that will be with you through almost every step of the way. And what we do in the data space is going to drive a lot of it. I'm pretty excited about what the next 5 years can hold in that regard.
That is awesome, and it is inspirational. I hope that in addition to all that, the augmented assistant can help me with my PowerPoints, which I which I still spend too much time doing. Super, Brett. So nice to meet you. Thanks for joining me today. I really enjoyed our conversation, and again, I appreciate we went really deep into an area that I think sometimes doesn't get enough attention. And really is critical to driving data culture and results. So thanks again. I hope you have a terrific rest of the day.
Really enjoyed the time with you, Chris, and I wish you a great day as well.